This is the video tutorial for the Class 10 in-class lab, and this week we're going to be dealing with rosters. And the first part of the tutorial, which is going to be this video, we're going to be working with Landsat Imagery, and the second part will be dealing with a points input to create density surfaces. So the second part will be separate of this first part. To get started, I need to connect to the folder, and once we connect to the folder, this is in-class lab data, I'm going to see three folders. Now what's important here is that I don't see the actual Landsat imagery that I have downloaded from, you're going to be using Earth Explorer this week to do the download. And I want to show you what format it comes in. So if we collapse out of this for just a second, let's go take a look on the desktop here at my lab data. So here I have my three folders of points, but what's important is that I have this other folder, or this other zipped file here. It's 163 megabytes currently, and it's in a GZ format. It's a zipped format that comes from Earth Explorer for Landsat Imagery. And this week you'll be downloading a similar file that will be zipped the same way. Now this is a bit of a trick. You can go ahead and unzip this first set. So if I have 7-zip installed, which is a good zip extraction tool. You can find 7-zip online and download it very easily, and it does a really good job of working with these larger zipped files. So I'm going to go ahead and use 7-zip, and I'm going to say extract here. And as I do that, we can see that it's going to create this new TAR file. Okay, this is the second file that it creates, and we can see that it's now at least twice the size of the one that was just zipped. I'm still not ready. I still have to unpack this one more time. So I'm going to go do this one more time. So I'm going to go to 7-zip, and I'm going to say, and this time, extract files, and importantly, I'm going to point it to somewhere that I want to extract to. So I'm going to make a folder in here in Class 10 lab data. I'm going to call it bands, because that's really what we're trying to get a hold of here, is the actual Landsat bands. So I'm going to click on that, and so now I have a data path that points me to bands, and that's going to put everything into that folder. So we can see bands sitting right here. That's where I'm extracting to, and I go ahead and say OK. And let's go take a look and see the folder now. So now within this folder I have all these images, and these image files are the actual bands of Landsat imagery. And depending on the vintage of the Landsat sensor, it could be anywhere from Landsat 1 or 2 all the way up to Landsat 8, which is the newest satellite, Landsat satellite. We'll have different band structures, but they kind of look like this, where they unfurl as separate scenes, separate images. Now let's go back to a mapping instance here in ArcGIS, and we are going to get a table of contents up here, and I'm going to go to ArcCatalog real quickly. Okay, so in ArcCatalog I need to go ahead and connect to this. So let's refresh it. I'm going to refresh the connection, and now I can see my bands folder here. So now I can actually see my images. I'm just going to drop one of these in here. So I'm going to say no to pyramids. And so here's the first image. This is a band 1. I believe that's a true color band. And it's just grayscale. So all these guys are going to be grayscale, and they're going to have a value, a specific value on the roster. So if we look at the properties of it, and we go to source, we can see it's a TIFF, it's 60 megabytes. The cell size, importantly, is 30 meters by 30 meters. That's always good to keep an eye on that. We can see that it's actually in a UTM zone already, so it's already projected out, which is nice. And so that's the format that all these bands are going to come in. Now what we want to do is we want to composite these bands, because obviously it's really difficult to figure out what's going on based on just one band. So if we zoom in, we can see some features here, which is nice. But it's not giving us really the true color that we want to have from a satellite image. And we can combine the bands differently to get different thematics that we're interested in. So let's remove this, and we're going to start the banding process that we need to do for this upcoming week. So if I go to Arc Toolbox, I can put these bands together now. So what I'll use is under, let's see, Data Management Tools, and if I go to Roster under Data Management Tool, I can do, let's try Roster Processing. So under Roster Processing, there's a Composite Bands tool. So I'm going to click on that tool set, and I'm going to open him up. And what's important about compositing bands is that we need to always make sure that the order of the bands is exactly what we want. So if I want to see true color, that's a 3-2-1 combination. And if I want to stress vegetative cover, I probably want to use 7-4-2. So let's try two different ones. You're going to have several different band combinations this upcoming week that you'll do. So I'm going to input my rosters, and I'm going to point it to my folder. This is going to be the bands folder that I point to. So I want to go 3-2-1 is my combination. So I'll bring in 3, 2, and 1. I'm just holding down the Shift key, and I'll say Add. And then importantly, I need to make sure that the order of these is correct, starting from the top to the bottom. So the first one here, let's go see what he is. So that's 3. I'm just double clicking on it to see its full path name. And then, yeah, 3, 2, 1 I have. So there's 2. And then there's 1. So I'm in the correct order. It's really important to have the correct order. So the one sitting on top has to be in the first position. The next feature has to be in the next position. You can also speed this up a little bit. If you bring in your bands into Table of Contents, it'll be able to see those a little bit better. But if you want to just point to them out in the folder, that's fine too. I'm going to send it to the default geodatabase, and I'll just accept this name, and I'll say OK. And it should take a few seconds to composite this band, and once it's done, we'll see a very different image than what we saw with just one band. Okay, so remember, we're bringing in a multi-band product into a final single band, or into a final single image. Okay, so here's our true color. This is our true color image now from Landsat. So now we have a lot more information that we can work from. So if we zoom in, now we can actually see. This is London, by the way. We can actually see the contrails of planes, which is pretty amazing. It's also a little disruptive for the imagery. We can, if we come over here, we can see that our urban cover has this kind of shiny, brassy purple color, and everything else has kind of a brown or a light green color. So we can see some difference there. Now if we really want to highlight a vegetative cover versus an urban cover, we might want to use a 7-4-2 band. So let's try that. Let's go back to Arc Toolbox, and we'll go to Composite Bands again, and let's bring in 7 and 4 and 2. So here we'll grab 4, and then I'm grabbing 2, 7, 4, 2. We're going to add those in. Just make sure they're in the correct order. So it's 7 on top, 4 is next, and then 2. That looks good to me. And then I'm going to send it to default geodatabase. Just use the default name there. And let's see what type of band I get back now from that combination. It looks like it took about 20 seconds there to complete. And we can see we have a radically different image now. And importantly, this one's really showing us the difference between water. We can see the water much better now. We can see our vegetative cover in this real deep green color. And we can see urban classes as kind of, again, this kind of shimmering purplish brassy pink color. So let's take a look at the difference between these. These are pretty radically different. And the features when we go to a supervising session are much easier to pick up. We can tell the computer exactly which features we want now based on our band combination. So let's zoom in here to London. So now I can really see these bright little speckles. Those are the actual urban features that are very large, and then the rest of them have this kind of purplish, pinkish color. And my vegetative features are that deep, vibrant green, and then also the kind of a neon green too. And again, if I can see quite a bit of difference between the two scenes in terms of the combinations. So this upcoming week you'll be working with 3 different band combinations for the same city. And my suggestion upcoming for this week is that you pick a city that is going to have a real distinct difference between its urban cover and the area right around the city. So desert cities are quite good for this upcoming week. Also, if you want to experiment with cities that are close to a real high change in elevation, that can be kind of an interesting scene to do also. So it's your choice in terms of the city, but cities that are kind of like London here, it's kind of, there's not a real distinct delineation between the urban cover and the actual exurban cover. We can certainly see the river as a feature, which is kind of interesting, and especially in 742 is pretty prominent. But once again, I would suggest maybe trying a desert city or a city that's in a semi-arid region where you can really see a marked difference between the urban cover and what's surrounding it. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful in understanding band combinations. And there's lots of things that we can now do with this roster once it's into this format. We can go ahead and classify it if we want to. We can do image classification with it. We can use it as a backdrop for other mapping. We can use it simply to visually inspect and denote certain types of land cover versus other types.